It is Friday. It is February 25th, or God knows whatever day into the pandemic. We're heading up on a year now of lockdown. I think actually in 3 weeks I will have been locked down for one whole year, which is interesting. Thanks for joining me. My name is Marcus Beer. You are on my Twitch channel. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Whoever's in there. Hello, viewers. It's tea time. As always, the Doctor Who mug is out. Look at that. Rude and not ginger. Ooh, there you go. Nice dark tea today. Oolong. Which is very nice. Very enjoying. Hope you've had a good week. On the subject of my tea, and in fact, it seems I have a couple of tea lovers in my in the old fan base. So to those, I'm going to say today's tea is actually, and I'm going to point this out probably later when we're a little bit busier, but I have Mandalorian tea. Look at that. Yes, today's tea is Mandalorian tea from, who is it? The Republic of Tea. Should be the Old Republic of Tea if they really wanted to go on brand, but there you go. Got it for Christmas from my good lady. I also got that one, which is a green tea, unsurprisingly. Not necessarily to my taste profile, but the missus likes the green tea, so she will be enjoying that. Let me move the camera around a little bit. So, how's your week been? Have you been good? Is anybody alive out there? Please say hi. Thank you to the new followers. Actually, there's quite a few of you. Neocrisis rather, Ghostwatch, Chester Eugene, welcome, and thank you to everybody else who's followed. Thanks to the couple of people who've thrown me a Prime sub. I very much appreciate it. Boggles my mind, but it is very, very flattering, and I am eternally grateful. So, what we're going to talk about today, couple of things. We're going to talk about Anthem. So, obviously, big news broke this week that EA have decided not to continue development on Anthem. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the Sony's State of Play press conference, virtual press conference, bunch of videos, whatever you want to call it. That was yesterday. Thankfully, I didn't stream. Opposite it. Wasn't really in a good space to stream anyway yesterday. Back still hurting, so I spent the day in bed. So, and yes, what else am I going to talk about? Stadia, some new stuff has broken with regards to Google Stadia and how Google Stadia was a bigger clusterfuck than we ever imagined. And this is breaking, actually. This came out of a new report by Bloomberg today, and I'm going to read some of this stuff to you, and then I'm going to put on my surprised face. Just how badly did Google's game streaming flop when it launched? It underperformed its sales targets by hundreds of thousands of users, despite spending tens of millions of dollars in ports of big blockbuster games. Apparently, my teeth aren't working today, so I did clean them earlier, so I can't do anything with them. It's an old joke. Google apparently paid the likes of Take-Two a good few $1 million, apparently, for Red Dead Redemption 2 to take that to Stadia. They sent money to Ubisoft as well, and this is the thing that boggles my mind. They spent money on all these titles to get them on Google Stadia, or not even all these titles. They went for quality over quantity, but they went for quality over quantity to such a degree that it hampered any variety. So that is an issue. I think that's one of the places where they went wrong. I'm all for having lofty aspirations for your software or for your hardware platform, whatever you want to work with. Have the lofty aspirations. Say, oh, we want to make it the place where people can go play the super high-end PC games without having a super high-end PC. I'm all for lowering the barriers to access. Abso-freaking-lutely. And by the way, please say hi in the chat room. I feel like I'm talking to myself here, which I kind of am. I'm actually talking to a small piece of plastic with a camera lens attached to it. But you've got to temper that with a little bit of smartness. You've got to realize that while we can't all live on caviar, or we can't all live on Kobe beef, Chateaubriand, turkey. Oh, there's more than a few turkeys out there that we've all dined out on in the years. There you go, Raypad, Sound Wizard, and RP Genius. You. Um, yeah, it's really, if yes, we'd love to have all these amazing games, just the amazing games. No trash. We don't want to turn into the Nintendo Wii towards the end of its life cycle, or even the Xbox 360 towards the end of its life cycle, where all it was shovelware and crap and crap and crap. But what you got to do is you got to have a little balance. As in life, so must you have in your video game hardware. For every Red Dead or Division 2 or whatever else they were spending money to bring to this platform and hype and hype and hype, you've got to, what I like to say is I like the way the Epic Game Store does it, where it has obviously all the big releases, and so does Steam to a certain degree, but they push the smaller titles as well. They have this huge amount of balance. They have stuff where they give away stuff for free, which is great. Two or three games a month, maybe even more. And this is again where Stadia went wrong. It's almost as if it's like, we're Google. Our name alone is going to bring people through the door. Not quite, because you're Google. People know how to use you to find porn and cat memes, not necessarily in the video game space. And look, no offense, Google is one of the most recognized brands. The term to Google is modern vernacular. It's entered the lexicon of words that we use. It's in our vocabulary. Do you say, "Oh, I'm going to ask Jeeves"? Do we fuck? I'm going to Bing it? No. What do? We Google shit. That's what we do. That hubris obviously is something that happens a lot when you're a big fuck off company. But much the same as Amazon, when you're a big fuck off company and you're not necessarily known for stuff and you're getting into a new space, it's going to take time. I like to call it the Amazon Prime TV experiment. Amazon started streaming and everybody had the Fire Stick, so you'd have the stuff free with Prime. And they bought a bunch of stuff. And, much like Netflix, they bought a bunch of stuff. And the stuff that they initially got was more miss than hit. But it was content. It was content that appealed to various people. And so people started, logging in and watching. Same with Amazon. Amazon, when they started off, you never thought that Amazon, or Netflix for that matter, would be making a shit ton of money, hand over fist, and then spending it on productions like The Boys, Stranger Things, Hulu, for example. That's another one where they basically were, also just going to warehouse fire sales and buying streaming rights to a bunch of stuff. I mean, let's face it. What built Netflix before they had the Stranger Things of this world and House of Cards? Friends. The TV show Friends, which was about a decade old. So this is but they weren't expecting to be huge right off the bat. They knew that they had to lay the groundwork, get people in, and then slowly reel them in with the content as the revenue kept on churning. They didn't need people to cancel. This is where Quibi went wrong. Remember Quibi? That's going to be entering the lexicon as a fucking disaster and a way to lose $2 billion. Quibi decided, oh, well, guess what? People only only have 10 minutes at a time to watch a bit of a story. So we're going to take the episodic thing and cut it down by a third again. In a pandemic where people really wanted longer stories, people wanted a binge watch. They didn't roll with that. And obviously, I'm obviously sucking on one of my throat lozenges to make sure I can keep on talking to you. So I apologize for any clicking as it bangs against my teeth. But Quibi was another example of an interesting idea, but massive hubris preventing a course correction. If they'd have rolled with it immediately, they probably could still be around because they had some big storytellers. They spent a shit ton of money on this high end concept and these bankable names. Sound familiar? Quibi, Google Stadia. Have you ever seen them in the same room together? I don't think so. They are one and the same, just different wigs and probably shoes. But basically, Google Stadia did the same thing. It banked on a lot of this high end stuff, not leaving a lot of money for what was left over, and therefore it failed because it didn't appeal to enough people. It didn't get enough out the door to people. The other thing is, you have to make the hardware a loss leader. OnLive got a lot of shit for what they did maybe a decade ago. OnLive at least got it right. OnLive got kits out to everybody and anybody and set up accounts, so whatever they wanted, if they wanted to play and stream and talk about it, they could. Google Stadia, I don't think they quite did that the same way, but I also think that their kits were a little bit too expensive, especially as we were looking at a recession caused by the pandemic and the global shutdown. So maybe it would have been smarter to say, we're going to make this a loss leader. We're going to say it's going to be, say, $50 for Google Stadia. And then we'll make money on the back end on subscriptions, on games. We'll take a percentage from the Google Stadia store, and it could have gone that way. But they didn't. And therefore, they're paying for it. And they're continuing to pay for it because they as we know, they shut down everything on February the 1st and putting a lot of people into a shitty situation. Again, a year into a frigging pandemic. Now, apparently, there's a separate report coming out. I'm reading this from Kotaku. So, I mean, Kotaku, again, when they do some good stuff, they do some good stuff. So now I'm looking at Wired, and they actually have a more in-depth interview, talk with people. And unsurprisingly, it seems to be that, oh, hello, Replay. Look at you with your party of 3. Thank you very much. I'm very, very honored. So, yes, let's talk about the attitude. The attitude is, yes, we're Google. We were too big to fail. Enron, anybody. But they also were so bloody minded that they wanted to push their way or the highway, and it's failed miserably. I'm sure it's basically the same situation that Disney did with Disney Infinity, where they shut down their game studio, didn't give Infinity a chance because they didn't have the capability to sharply adapt. And that is the problem with the bigger publishers and the bigger developers and the bigger companies. The ones who are successful today are the ones who can 180 to a certain degree. But when you're the bigger the company, the harder it is to 180. It's like doing a 3-point turn in the Titanic. Not exactly going to be something you can do overnight. And this is why, if you are a big company, and obviously I'm saying this in the full knowledge that every big company CEO tunes in to this show religiously every Friday. If you're going to set up something like this, make it mostly autonomous. Make it so that the people in charge, not Phil Harrison, can act a little quicker and respond to market issues and respond to global issues in a way that allows the business to change course slightly or a little bit more than slightly, and then be profitable and still stay in business. This is where Google Stadia went wrong. Like I said, I mentioned OnLive. I will always have love for OnLive for what they tried to do. They had a great product at the wrong time. Google Stadia had a knockoff product at the right time and couldn't fucking close the deal. And that's a failure of leadership. It's not a failure of the 150 plus developers who are now out of work, who are scrabbling. Hopefully they've all found new gigs pretty quickly, because I'm sure they are talented people, not talentless people. We save that for upper management. Talented people who will find other gigs, and the benefit is we're all working remotely right now. One of the few benefits of the pandemic, as you join me in my dark cavernous hole, misses. is that we are working remotely, which means somebody can hire you and say, well, we would love to you to come to North Carolina to join us at Epic, but right now you can't. So what's your internet connection like? This is our policy. This is what we can send you. This is the machine you can have. You can start work. Boom, boom, boom. Do you have a proper webcam? Boom. And you're working. You're working remotely. You're working from home. You're being productive. It's all good. Companies that are successful are the ones who are pivoting like that. Google Stadia can't pivot, couldn't pivot. Lack of leadership, lack of direction. Stop hiring people who fail up. We've had this discussion on a weekly basis. Failing up is one of the reasons this planet is in such a shit state. Failing up puts the old boys network front and center. Failing up is why we have a pandemic in the first place and a bad response to it. Failing up means that we have dickheads in charge, or had dickheads in charge. Now we have slightly less dickheads in charge. Failing up is fucking evil. I've never failed up. Really annoying. Okay. That was my first rant of the day. And it is, yes, I know I do go back to Google Stadia, and I do like to, kick that corpse while it's down. And it's certainly not any harm, any meanness meant at the 150 people who are laid off. Nothing but love for you guys. I hope you all, guys and girls, I use guys as non-encompassing. Guys, girls, non-binary, folks. That's what I'm going to use from now on. Folks. Yes, I hope all you folks are doing well. I hope you've managed to pivot and rebound and get off into new gigs where you are appreciated and where you don't have to deal with Muppets at the top. Which is the title of the failed Muppet movie reboot that never happened last year. Okay, let's go to the chat room before I carry on. Yes, so we have Raypad and we have RP Genius. Look at that Raypad with his founder 1 month subscriber emoji. He's so flash. I'm going to have to come up with some more emojis. The only emojis I have right now, I have this one. Hang on, did that come through? I hope it did. There you go. You see that emoji right now. Yes, so that's the only one I've managed to do so far. I am going to mess around and try and do some more emojis that subscribers will get access to. Not that I'm sure they want them anyway, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, RP Genius says, I think Stadia's main problem is the games are full price individual releases instead of a subscription service like Game Pass. No way to ever pay to buy a game I can stream, but I may consider a sub. This is exactly it, and I know we are looking at Sony and Microsoft having their monthly subscriptions where you can license games onto your hard drive, and once you cancel the subscription, you don't get access to them anymore. Which is all well and good, and it's basically a fucking library. It's like a video library from the 80s or 90s, or a book library that's still around today, thankfully. But the beauty of what Microsoft and Sony do, you can still buy the game. It's yours. It's there. If you buy a digital copy, it's attached to your Xbox Live or PlayStation account. If you buy a physical copy, well, guess what? You're probably in the minority nowadays, but welcome to, you have your own little physical version that you can take with you wherever you want. You can boom, boom, boom. I don't want to pay for Games for Live, Windows for Live, Gold, PlayStation Plus, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't have to because I bought the game. And the fact that Stadia didn't have a subscription option hurt it. I mean, it could have partnered with EA and put EA Play on there. It could have partnered with Microsoft and put the Windows Games Pass on there. That might have been interesting. But no, they don't like to share their toys. Anyway, so, all right, moving on. Yes, so RP Genius, I think you're right. You need a little bit of column A, a bit of column B. So what's known as blending. So what's known as balance. Quality, not so high quality. Don't blow your wad on all the expensive stuff. Don't forget the stuff that's going to be your foundations. Sue Kenyon, I would love to fail up. If any company would like to pay me to fail up, then I'd gladly join Sim here. Oh, God, and Bennett, yes. And I've said this before. I have worked with I've worked with several people who have failed up and continue to fail up. So much so that um, it's just amazing. Yeah, my problem, and look, I've seen people go up who totally deserve it, and those are the people I'm going to have love for. But it does seem that giving a shit and being quite vocal about certain things tags you as a troublemaker, where they prefer the brown noses. So yeah, that's why I'm here doing this. And actually, I'm kind of happy if I could figure out a way for somebody to pay me to do this every week. What? That would be awesome. Okay. All right. Oh, let's go see. Okay, I'm going to allow that one, obviously. Great tongue. Oh, grog, a goat tongue. Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I get very excited. Do my happy dance. I'm gonna figure out a happy dance. So, in case you missed it when you when the feed started, because obviously it didn't seem to show a huge amount of viewers. My tea today is Mandalorian. It's Mandalorian oolong from the Republic of Tea, and I also got this is for Christmas. Oop, it would help if I can twist this. There you go. Oh, look at that! The child green tea. Um, so yes, I'm drinking the black tea because I really do like this black tea. It's great. So yeah, Mrs. got me that for Christmas. And you know what? I'm while we're on the we are on. Sorry, I watch this. Watch the chat thing, and it's addictive watching you guys chat about stuff. While we're on the subject of things I got that are cool gifts, I'm just going to show this to you. Hold on a second. So, Valentine's gift from the missus. This has become, I think I've mentioned this before, where it's kind of become our thing where we have the mugs with Han and Leia from The Empire Strikes Back just before he's about to have a carbonite bath. And she says, I love you. And he says, I know. And we got those mugs. And my wife's Valentine's Day card to me was actually that again. And then this arrived a few days after Valentine's Day. It sucks. Millennium Falcon socks with I love you, I know, and obviously the kiss from when they are in the asteroid field in Empire. My wife gets me. How about I have that for nerdiness? Nerdiness. Okay. Yeah, isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? All right, so we are going to talk about stuff now. What are we going to talk about right now? We are going to talk. What else did I talk about? Oh, Anthem. Anthem. BioWare's next great big thing when BioWare hasn't done a big great thing since Mass Effect 3. I know a lot of people bought Anthem, and then they and weren't happy with it, and then they retooled it, and people were a little bit happier. But unlike games that have been retooled down the line, such as let's talk about the Old Republic. Let's talk about the Destiny retools over the years. Uh, a couple of others. I'm sure you will list them off of games. No Man's Sky is a prime contender for game that didn't deliver what it promised day one, and then decided to carry on and just evolve out of all expectation into something that is epic in its scale. Anthem tried to do that. Anthem didn't work. Now, I had a problem with Anthem from its announcement because we'll use Raypad. Save that for later. We're going to talk about the state of play in a minute. All right, time out. I'm talking Anthem. So my problem with Anthem from day one was I watched the videos, I read the press releases, I read the interviews, I saw the previews. I still couldn't fucking understand what Anthem was. Now, I'm somewhat experienced in the video games industry. I've been around a little bit. I may have played a game or two. And look, when Anthem was shipped, I wasn't that old. I mean, I was still late 40s. I still hadn't crossed over into the dreaded 50 zone. But even so, regardless, should be able to explain to a 50-year-old gamer what Anthem is. I had no fucking clue. Couldn't get it, couldn't understand it whatsoever. So when it actually came out, and I started seeing things like, well, you got these things and you can fly from battle to battle, and it's like you level up, and so it's an MMO to a certain degree. And oh no, you can't fly, you can jump. And please feel free, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, you could only jump. You couldn't fly. Why? Because the world's too small and you'll cover it too quickly. Struck me as a fucking game design flaw. And I just didn't get it. I just didn't see the attraction in it. The whole idea that it was just a game that was designed to cash in on Destiny to a certain degree and monetization. Now, we all know EA likes its monetization. This looked like a game designed to lift every single coin from your wallet. If you haven't played Anthem, you may be familiar with with the newest version of that. It's called Avengers the Game. That's another one. I mean, look, people can say, "Oh, Fortnite's exactly the same." Fortnite's free game though. Fortnite is not a full price game. I still don't fucking get Fortnite. I mean, I go into Fortnite. I see these posts from my friends who work at Epic, and the new one is, "Oh, Ripley, Xenomorph," and they've had Marvel stuff there, and they've had concerts from people I've never heard of, and millions of people around the world tune in, and I'm like, this is amazing and fantastic, and I still can't play the game because I just don't get it. It doesn't fill me with joy, as Marie Kondo would say, or Marie Kondo, or Marie Callender, or whatever her name is. And Anthem looked like it was a full price game where you'd have to play to get the full experience. And that is always a problem. And then when it was rejigged, there are a lot of hardcore Anthem players out there who seemed to get a little bit happier with it. And then obviously they announced this week that they're no longer going to develop it because again, EA is a business and they're not going to shovel bad money, good money after bad. This also goes to show that the things when video game companies jump on the latest trend without really giving it some forethought, shit goes south. You're going to lose some money. Do you remember when Hollywood had this happy knack of having competing films of the same subject coming out? I call it Tommy Lee Jones versus Pierce Brosnan, Dante's Peak versus Volcano, which is very 90s for you older watchers of the show. But yes, you had volcanoes became the big thing for 1 year in Hollywood, and I'm not talking about Sci-Fi Channel where somebody from Beverly Hills 90210 would try and save Lindsay Lohan's grandmother or whatever in whatever the sci-fi movie of the week was before they all became Sharknadoes. But yes, they'd have two competing films all about the same the same title, and it happened year after year after year. We had Troy and Kingdom of God, I think, was the other one that were bumping heads. We had I think we had two movies about Truman Capote at the same time. And one would always go. Oh, the other one is Armageddon and The Core. Oh, sorry, Armageddon, not The Core. What was the other one? Deep Impact, Armageddon, and then The Core was kind of off to the side. Deep Impact and The Core way more entertaining than Armageddon, by the way. But Armageddon was the bigger blockbuster because Michael Bay. We didn't realize how much of a twat he was back then, and that bloody Aerosmith song. White House Down versus Olympus Has Fallen. Thank you, RPG Genius. That's another one. Yes, you see how it's going. So that's the thing. When you jump on a trend, there's always a winner and a loser. If you don't jump on, and also if you jump on a trend too slow, you're going to get like, oh, your old hat, we're on to the next thing. If you jump on too quick, you don't give it as much thought, and then all of a sudden you're going tits up again. New rule, shamelessly lifted from Bill Maher. How about you don't jump on a trend? How about you look at ways to create the next trend? It's like, oh, well, look at this. Destiny did this and this worked for them. Can we do it better, but also put our own unique spin on it? and really make it good? Maybe. Okay, how long is it going to take? 3 years. Fuck that. We'll be off to the next thing. So what's the next thing? What can we create to be the next thing? That's what I'd like to see. A little bit more oomph, a little bit more jazz, a little more creative thinking, a little bit more of the magic firewater in the company water cooler. Ah, but yes, I am very sorry for the people who've invested a lot of time and a lot of effort into Anthem over the years, and a lot of coin. People have been paying money for that game, and the microtransactions and whatever else is going on, and that's all about to come by the bite. Obviously, they haven't suggested, or they haven't said when, if or when the game's going to be shut down. If they are going to stop supporting the game, I would hope they make all the server software available so that people can then host their own and go off. It's something that we used to do when I was working at NovaLogic. We'd release the server software for our games so people could host their own games. We had our own official servers, but we're a small company, and it was much, much more sensible for people to host their own servers for Delta Force and Black Hawk Down and Joint Ops and stuff like that. And I'd love to see that stuff come back. Host your own servers. Create your own world. That's cool. I'm sure it's especially galling for Anthem owners when they look at the Knights of the Old Republic, where that game is still going. 12, 11, 10, was it 10 years, 10 years later, 9 years later, but people are still paying subs fees for that one. So, yeah. Okay, that was Anthem. I'm doing good, sub level. Anley's in the house. I'm doing good. Thank you very much for asking. Let me see. RP Genius says, I am just happy with Anthem's failure and Jedi Fallen Order's success has apparently made EA realize people want single player games instead of games with a yeah. It would be lovely if, and look, a lot of companies do realize that. I mean, we'll talk about Bethesda in a minute and what they've got coming with Deathloop. But I think, yes, there are certain things that do well with regards to games as a service. Sports games, FIFA, Madden, NHL. Those are the games that always do well because we're talking about a fluid thing in sports. Teams change. Football teams, soccer teams, they buy new players in the off season, in the month of January, when the transfer window opens, and you can then look at using that as games as a service to make sure that your roster or your squad, like most people say, roster, so that your squad is continually up to date if you want to be authentic or if you want to sub new players in or whatever. You want to create your own league. I mean, I'm in a fantasy soccer league with Raypad. My team is languishing because I'm just going to go off on a soccer tangent here. My team is languishing because, I kid you not, 2/3 of my defense came from Liverpool, and within the first 8 weeks of the season, 2/3 of my defense were injured, with two being out for the season. I had Virgil van Dijk, I had Joe Gomez, I had Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I had Alisson. And condolences to Alisson and his family after losing their dad this week. So that's horrible news. But yes, I've not updated my team. I just got so depressed, especially given Liverpool slump. So that's why I'm languishing. And next season, if we do this again, Ray, I'm not fucking signing anybody from Liverpool because I am a jinx. I'm going to sign only Manchester City players. So there. But yes, going back to games as a service, that's why games as a service can work and does work. Or if you're looking at MMOs like the Old Republic, like Warcraft, like Fallout 76. I mean, Fallout 76 is a game that they have worked on and updated and taken feedback on board, and it is more games of a service as a service now. And everybody's got their own little installer. Everybody's got their own little thing where they have their little hub where it's like, look at all the games you want from us. You really must like us. Here, have a sketch of something we put into development 3 years ago. I always love that. You've unlocked artwork. Wow. Thanks. It's the equivalent of here's a boiled sweet that I've been sucking on for 6 months. If you're going to unlock things and give people awards and achievement, save the artwork, okay? Put the artwork on the community site, let everybody enjoy it. I'm not belittling the quality of the artwork, because artists are amazing people with skills and talents that they have honed over years and years, and I've got nothing but respect for them. But if you're going to say, oh, well, we're going to give you a fucking digital art book if you pre-order this, how about you digitally kiss my sweaty butt? And it's not sweaty, actually. I had a shower today. I always shower before I come on here, so I look silky smooth for you. And again, tangent, because I tangent. Oh, look at that. You see the top of my head. Yes, I like the tangent. And when I see, it's funny, I see these deluxe offerings on Steam or on the Epic Game Store. And it is like, oh, for an extra $20, you can have a digital art book, not a hard copy, just the digital one, and a copy of the soundtrack of the game I'm actually going to be listening to. Of this, the soundtrack of the game that I'm going to be playing, where I hear the fucking soundtrack anyway. Yeah, these are not added values. These are not deluxe added. If you want to add stuff into a deluxe, or if you want to add something as an incentive for games as a service, make it something tangible in game. Make it a cool skin. Make it a cool weapon. Make it something that I can actually put to use inside the game. The digital cost of creating this item and putting it in the world, or the real world cost rather, is not insignificant. I understand that you've got salaried people, you're paying them to do this stuff, but the goodwill it buys you, and the way it incentivizes the player to keep on giving you money is way higher than a fucking digital art book. I really don't care about it. I mean, what do you think? Yeah, there you go. Great. Goat tongue. Artwork that wasn't used in anything. Gee, thanks. Yeah. Raypad, I didn't realize you were still playing with regards to the fantasy. Yeah, I haven't checked in a couple of... Look, come on. We lost to fucking Everton. Ugh. I mean, we'd be lucky if we qualify for the Europa League this year. But yeah, so again, this is if you want to do games as a service and you want to add people, incentivize people to shell out money every month, or people to come back and pay for season passes, pay for packs. Let's talk about loot boxes. Still fucking think they're disgusting. If you want to let somebody buy something for the game, let them buy what they want, not a bunch of chaff. I do think it's gambling to a certain degree, and I do think they should be regulated. So yeah, Anthem started off well behind the curve and never progressed. It's a shame. Now, EA has said that they are putting all their resources into Dragon Age and Mass Effect. Well, watch this show regularly. If you watched any of the stuff I've done in the past 10 years, you will know that I'm a big Mass Effect head. I do love me some Mass Effect action. In fact, hold on. Oh, look at my Normandy. It's my Normandy. It's so pretty and Normandy-ish. Look at that. Yeah, I like my Mass Effect. So yes, and obviously I've said this before, I will be playing Mass Effect Remastered Trilogy. I'm very hopeful that a Mass Effect 4 comes along that isn't anything, that basically says that, Mass Effect Andromeda was a fever dream. Okay, let's go back to the chat room and the questions and the RP Genius. Speaking of deluxe offerings, what's your opinion on special editions that don't include a copy of the game? Because seriously, what the actual fuck? Well, I mean, there are this is the way we are moving. It is the digital edition. I do think that if you are offering a collector's edition, you should offer two iterations. One of them being one that's where you get sent the physical stuff, such as the toys, the figurines, the t-shirts, whatever. You get those physical representations sent to you, and if you just opted for the digital copy, you just get the digital copy. Maybe you can request this, a memento case, but you should also have a physical copy case, and the physical copy should actually be slightly more expensive than the digital one. The digital one should be cheaper because you're not paying for the same amount of goods. So that's my view on that. Sub-level 28, if they are charging what they are for those versions, they better ship me the soundtrack on a record. Absolutely. Vinyl soundtracks. I Am 8-Bit does a lot of that good stuff, by the way. Check out I Am 8-Bit. They do a lot of the more indie type stuff, but you can get some really good soundtracks that they have done on limited edition vinyl. RPG, yes. I would love a proper remaster remake of Dragon Age Oranges. Dragon Age Oranges. This Satsuma's got some fire. Yes, I think if Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster is going to do well, or if it does well, I think it will. I'm sure that they already have plans to remake the first couple of Dragon Age games, upres them, and that'll be nice. I mean, for me, I was more invested in Shepard and the Mass Effect Trilogy than I was in Dragon Age. I love the first one. The second one kind of got away from me. So, but yes, there's a lot of people who love it. So let's look at doing that. Let's look at bringing more classic games back. And as I said in the last show, if you have a suggestion for a classic game or trilogy or what, a couple of sequels that you would like to see remastered and brought back, let me know. We'll talk about it on here. You know where the Twitter handle is. You're all on the Twitter. You all follow me. I know you do. So yes, we can discuss it on another time. Let's do that. Let me see what else we got in the chat room. Yeah, if you like soundtracks, again, I'm not belittling soundtracks or the skills they're going to make in them. They do make or break a game in a lot of ways. I mean, I will always say that the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, that soundtrack was one of the few that got the old hairs on the back of my neck going up, where especially when you get your first dragon shout, first row Dovaki, and the choir going. It's like, whoa, shit! That's on a good surround sound system. Yeah, tingle worthy. So yeah, I'm not belittling that. I'm just saying I wouldn't consider having that on a soundtrack as something that's an added value for me. Okay, Blizzard's deluxe editions. I did look right. I've invested in a few. Most of the things that came in those deluxe editions are now locked away in cases. World of Warcraft orcs and various other things. I'll share a little story with you from my time at Vivendi, Vivendi Universal Games, who was the parent company of Blizzard. And do you think we would get any love for those and any discounts on those collector's editions? No. Sister company couldn't even get fucking discounts on our subs. And that's why Blizzard made a lot of money off the likes of me, Matt Frary, and a couple of other people, because we were playing WoW and paying for WoW, and we weren't even shareholders, so we weren't seeing the bottom line. I got, like I said, I got no problem with soundtracks. I've got a few soundtracks here. I mean, I've got the original Star Wars soundtrack somewhere. I prefer it when there's more sort of like music stuff. I mean, it's why I'm a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy OST, or soundtracks where they've got the songs in because they help capture a movie. The World's End, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, their other ones. Saturday Night Fever. There's a lot of them that have really great soundtracks where it's not just the orchestral movements or the themes, but it's also all the other bits of music, the licensed music that just makes it all of a package. I got plenty of those. Okay, Legacy of Kain remaster would be great. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I've got nothing to say. I've never played Legacy of Kain. Yeah. Never. And again, a lot of it comes down to, especially when I was doing game trailers, there were some companies who just wouldn't give me access to shit, and for various reasons, because I've ripped them to shreds on Annoy Gamer. Understandable. That's just the way it is. So yes, there's a bunch of games that I never got around to playing. Okay, what else am I going to talk about now? Oh, we are going to talk about We're going to talk about everything that Sony announced. While I try and get my. There you go, baby. Everything Sony announced at the State of Play. So, the State of Play broadcast, which is basically Nintendo Direct, but Sony. Did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts? Did anybody have any fun with it? I know some of you are having your own conversation off brand, off topic. I saw you two talking. Time Splitters. Actually, I confused Time Splitters with Time Shift. That's a game I worked on at Vivendi, and I managed to palm off to somebody twice. Oh, that game. Oh, that game. Yeah, that game was so bad that Vivendi bought it from somebody else and then retooled it like 3 times. Oh. Okay, so what are we looking at? What did they announce? They announced Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Is going to have a PS5 specific version. Returnal, the third-person roguelike from the makers of Resogun, is coming to the PlayStation 5 on April 30th. Knockout City. Solar Ash, Five Nights at Freddy's. I tried playing Five Nights at Freddy's. Another game I just can't get into. I don't get the appeal. People seem to love it. This is like Five Nights at Freddy 36. I mean, how many different versions of this fucking game do we have? See, Raypad, I don't know what you're talking about. You're just talking bobbins. Oddworld, again, Oddworld is a game that keeps on getting so much love, and I just don't get the attraction. Kena Bridge of Spirits, or Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Deathloop. That game looks fucking weird. Also looks really quite awesomely kind of weird. I am down for some Deathloop action when that ships up apparently in May. Finally, Final Fantasy remake interlude into pants into incontinence. What the hell? Let's pause away for a sec, shall we? Yeah, and let's take a look at this. That I don't know what it is about that game, but it's the first time I've seen anything about it. I watched the trailer and I was like, okay, we're gonna say shut up, Kina Spirits, because the bloody autoplay on the YouTube. Rudely interrupting me. Sifu. Sifu looks good. Sifu reminds me of Ip Man, and if you haven't seen the Ip Man movies, I certainly recommend them. I think all four on Netflix right now. I started watching it because it kept on getting recommended to me, and just loved it. And I've watched 3 of the 4. I haven't watched the final one yet because it is the final one, and it'll probably be a bit of a tearjerker. But yes, Donnie Yen. I mean, he is more than just Rogue One. Yeah, he's really quite excellent. He's also in Blade 2. He was kind of wasted in Blade 2. Would love to have seen more of Donnie Yen as one of the Wolf Pack, the Night Pack, or whatever they call Blood Pack. Blood Pack, that's right. So yeah, Sifu reminds me of Ip Man meets the standout scene in the Netflix Daredevil series with Charlie Cox, where it's the first time you really see him go to town, and it's in this corridor. I mean, that's one of the reasons Sifu stands out to me, because that whole corridor. I know you're going to go beyond the corridors into different things, and I don't know how what the premise actually is, but just that close quarter combat is very, very interesting, and I hope the controls are intuitive. And yes, I am looking forward to that one. Hopefully, I'll be able to buy a PS5 by then, because that would be awesome. Or maybe it'll come to PC and I won't need to, and I'll just sit here and go, "Whoa, I love it." Um, yes. So that's my favorite. That's my favorite pick. We can go back through. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that you guys are obviously interested in, but Sifu's my pick. But it's an interesting take on the or my view on the industry is quite interesting right now. Is that we do have all these everybody's doing their own little thing, which is great with regards to their video presentations, their state of plays, their this, that, and the other. But everything seems kind of samey, and we've had that before. We've had that with the when military FPSs ruled the roost. And every game was a military FPS. I know, because I was obviously quite literally the center of that particular maelstrom was some of the stuff I worked on. And then again, just going back to that trends where, everything has to look retro now, or everything has to look cutesy, or everything has to have this kind of influence or that kind of influence. But right now, everything's just, it's not they all look the same as each other. But that lineup looks like it could have been from last year, or it could have been from the year before, or it could have been from a PlayStation 4 launch event. And that does seem to be that's just something that doesn't worry me. I'm not fucking worried about anything anymore except death, and been there, done that, and taxes, and I fucking hate those things. And as I get older, getting up to pee in the middle of the night. These things are the things that worry me. But I would hate to see the industry just rely on the sameness. And look, we'll talk about Nintendo Direct. Let's talk about that one, because they do the same thing, and I've talked about this before, but they do the same shit over and over and over again. And it seems like the Nintendo curse is spreading to a lot of other sides, where everybody's like, okay, well, we'll just all right, let's see boxes. We have a couple of cutesy indie games, great. Indie RPG cutesy type thing, yeah. Big budget Bethesda, Deathloop, Unknown Quantity, okay. Couple of old games that are getting rehashed, rejigged, whatever. There's nothing. Maybe everybody's saving it for the non-existent E3 this year. Maybe we'll see some stuff. Obviously, we're in the first full year of the new consoles, so things are a little bit different. They always are. There's always a little bit of a lull, and maybe that's it again. But it's very few and far between with regards to games that excite me right now. Sifu is definitely one of the ones that's really quite interesting to me. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat room and let me see. So apparently, RP Genius and Raypad are having a very great friendship. It's lovely to watch this friendship bloom, by the way. I mean, you guys are just so it's nice. It's nice. I mean, not jealous at all. Which Highlander movie was Donnie Yen in? Was it one of the shitty ones? Because let's face it, there's only actually I'd say that was one of the shitty ones. There was only one great Highlander. There can be only one, and that was the first one. That is the best. Queen's soundtrack, Frenchman playing a Scotsman, Scotsman playing a Spaniard, the Kurgan. Great Queen soundtrack. Totally 80s movie. First and foremost, that's the only Highlander. There can be only one, and that is the one. And I will fight anybody in a war of words who says otherwise. Because we all know that Highlander 2 The Quickening, despite having Michael Ironside, who was the de facto bad guy in the late 80s, early 90s, in movies. Despite him, and he was fucking batshit. I mean, it's like he decided to look at the Kurgan character and amp it up 150. But that was an awful movie. Then we had the Highlander 3, The Sorcerer, wasn't it? I think it had a couple of different titles. It was called The Sorcerer, I think, in the UK. Horrible, horrible. I mean, Mario Van Peebles wasted. And then there was the one with the other McLeod guy from the TV series, the Lorenzo Lamas looking dude. Sorry, don't know who he is. And that's no. So I'm gonna I want to know what are you talking about? RP Genius, yes, the Daredevil hallway scene is it's great. Returnal looked good. All right, I'm gonna have to. All right, Returnal. I'm gonna queue up Returnal because this is the beautiful thing. Now we're gonna do shit on the fly. So let me see. I'm gonna get this up into YouTube. Well, that's really annoying. Fucking ads. God, I hate ads. The video will play after the ads. I'm going to pause this. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I thought there was an earthquake, but no, it turns out that the cats knocked over a couple of water bottles. So there you go. Had to make sure that was all good. So let's have a look at Returnal together, shall we?
At Housemarque are excited to give you this sneak peek at Returnal. In Returnal, you will play as Celine, an Astra scout who crash lands on an alien planet, Atropos, after receiving a mysterious signal, White Shadow. Players will explore this inscrutable, dark planet in search for answers and unfold mysteries, which may point to a larger force at play. Dashing and quickly maneuvering your way above and around enemies is key to survival in Returnal. With the large variety of enemies and the vast number of unique movesets each possess, combat situations prove challenging no matter what the circumstances are. Death is only the beginning. Every time you die and restart, the world will change. The map will be different, enemies will appear in new locations and in differing numbers, so you have to think fast and adapt. Here you can see the use of the lightning alt-fire, which is great for crowd control. This is one of many alt-fires that you can acquire in the game. You will stumble across mysterious devices that can grant rewards to the player. These will vary from weapons, consumables, and upgrades, and they can completely change your playstyle and make each cycle feel unique. Besides the intense combat, Returnal also has a deep and engaging narrative.
Remember what I said about trends? A fucking roguelike gameplay where you die and you come back again. Oh, is there another game that they have on the Sony State of Play that had that same sort of thing? Oh, Deathloop. Come on. Yeah, trends again. Roguelike. So is roguelike the new Modern Warfare? Is it the new military shooter? Oh, you got fault. RPG says, hang on, $70 for that? Fuck off. 70 quid? Is that 70 quid or 70 pounds? I mean, $70 or 70 pounds? I mean, 70 pounds for that's like $100. 63 pounds in the UK for that. Oh, do fuck off, Sony. Oh, 69. That is just. All right. I just Let's talk about pricing. Now, I know video game pricing hasn't gone up in a very long time, and I totally understand that the cost of making video games has gone up year out, year out. Boom, boom, boom. However, a lot of companies now have salaried staff that they move from game to game. They have teams pulling double shifts, doing work for various different games at the same time. There are way more gamers than there were 10, 5, 15, 20, 25 years ago when games were still quite expensive for the time. Now we are into a distribution model that heavily leans towards digital. The digital uptake is stronger than ever, and it's only going to get stronger as we do see things like broadband become more prevalent, where people are paying for fatter pipes, especially now that the likes of Comcast and everybody are shit scared of the Biden administration's FCC here in the US, because the shit they managed to do under that crook Ajit Pai will not fly anymore. People will not be able to fucking charge you exorbitant sums for data caps and then going over said data caps. That gravy train is fucking ending, thankfully. So when we are looking at digital distribution, lowering the cost of goods, I remember my voice is going up, lowers the cost of goods to by such a degree, because yes, you don't need to manufacture a case or a disc or a manual. I remember manuals. And even if you do need to manufacture them, you manufacture them in lesser quantities than before because more people are buying to digital. You don't need to pay GameStop their cut because you're now working with a digital storefront. You don't need to pay to have these physical goods shipped from A to B to C to D because they're digital. Now, if somebody's smart with regards to how they preload software in and encourage digital pre-orders, that money is up and in the bank and nobody's taking a cut of it, by the way, especially if you order it directly from the first parties. Then you can actually get around the data cap bullshit, which is bullshit, by the way. Internet should be accessible to everyone, and I'm not talking about fucking dial-up. You preload it in segments, slowly. May take 4 or 5 times as long, but that way the consumers don't have to deal with the shitty data caps. But yes, digital games should not be $70, 70 quid. That's really fucking obscene. 70 quid for a retail box copy, I can see that. 70 quid for a game that looks like pretty version of pulling teeth the game, because I love Hades. That's a great game, roguelike, blah, blah, blah. But I've played it through for several hours, really enjoyed it, paid $20 for it. Stepped away from it for a while because it became too repetitive, because that's what these games do. And I don't care if, we're going to juggle everything up. We're going to put this level there, that level there. This one's going to be blue. That one's going to have a unicorn with 5 dildos attached to it. This one's going to have a kebab shop in it. And that one's going to have 4 Karens. I don't care. That's cheap gameplay. That is cheap gameplay masquerading as something innovative and nostalgia. And I'm sorry, that's not worth £70 or $70. Okay, how fucking pretty it is. This whole roguelike thing is a fucking con that a lot of people have bought into. I paid $20. $20 for Hades. I'm perfectly happy with that. It's gone to an indie developer. It's a great game for what it is. $50 cheaper than whatever that fucking thing was. And that was... Whew, there you go. Do you just love this stuff? I think you broke Mark. Yes, you did break me with that one. Thank you, RPG. All right, let's go through the chats. I really don't know how they justify this price hike, especially when you add in massive revenue boost from the microtransaction season passes. Yes, this is obviously a conversation that actually I touched on 6-7 years ago on game trailers. It's always been a bugbear of mine that the season passes and the microtransactions and the loot boxes are not regulated, not managed, and they are really quite ridiculous. If you have a game that's free, you can get away with a lot. Fortnite does it. They make a shit ton of money, hand over fist. And I don't begrudge it to them. They make people happy. They pump a lot of that money back into the game with the licensing deals they do and the things like the concerts and everything. So people are happy. People at Epic sit on gold toilets and wipe their bums with $100 bills. Good luck to them. When you're charging 60, 70 bucks, 60, 70 quid, 60, 70 euros, whatever. Actually, the euros will probably be even higher. And then expect somebody to pay for a season pass on top. And it's the same with Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, EA, whatever. For me, a game, if you're going to charge full whack for a game, you better deliver, honestly, at least 20 hours of really good, varied gameplay, great graphics. There's a lot of competition out there for my buck, and there's a lot less bucks in this economy to spread around, which is why I generally tend to get older games. The only times I've splurged on anything recently, and I'm just going to see, I'm going to go through the top of my list. The new games I have bought recently were Assassin's Creed, Valhalla, Cyberpunk, and Control. And Control was a deal on the Epic Game Store. I had a coupon, and they had a Game of the Year edition. And so I don't really have that much buyer's remorse when I fell asleep playing Control. But that's another conversation for another time. Oh, All right. Let me see. Horizon Disturbed Swan says, I can understand for stuff like Demon Souls or Horizon 2, God of War, Ragnarok. These games must be super expensive, but stuff like Returnal I can't buy. Well, yeah, I'm with you. And look, again, we're talking about an unproven franchise, and they've tried this shit before. Do you remember when they went from 40 to 50? And then we went from 50 to 60? And now they're going from 60 to 70. They'll try this shit. They will continue to try this shit. The only way you can stop this shit is demanding a cheaper digital version where some of the costs that they save, instead of going into the shareholder pockets, because fuck the shareholders, the majority of them are hedge fund wankshites. Instead of putting money into their pockets, how about you make stuff a little bit more, again, lower that barrier of entry. If you want to start a new franchise like Returnal, make the game a lot cheaper for people to inspire them to buy it, take a gamble on it, and then reap the rewards down the line. Then maybe, if your expansion packs, your downloadable content. That's the way I'd look at it. This is why I don't run a video game company. Let me see. What else are we looking at? Yes, Control. Thank you, Find a Bench. Control. I wanted to get into it. I read the reviews. I saw the Metacritic. I saw people were like, "This is a visual. This is just a work of art, and it's this and this and." And I'm like, I suck it in. Thankfully, again, I didn't pay as much as I should have, because I had a really nice. That's the other reason I like the Epic Game Store. They do like giving coupons. But it was like, I think I've played maybe 5 hours of it. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm with you. I'm with you. Find a bench. Disturbed Swan. I love Cyberpunk and Control. Okay, but yes, Valhalla again. Look, we've talked about this. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's Assassin's Creed. It's Assassin's Creedy on Assassin's Creed Super Steroids. Windswept Dragon. Oh my God, you are old. One, you quoting John Menzies, which is I think a defunct store chain in the UK. I mean, I think John Menzies have gone bye. They used to sell music, singles, 12 inches, albums, CDs, computer games, magazines, chocolates, and yeah, they used to sell them. I mean, $7.99. Good God, I remember when I would. Yeah, I remember when Spectrum games were $5.99, and then we were all upset with Ultimate. Ultimate, Play the Game, who then became Rare, who then just vanished because That's what happens when you get absorbed. But yes, Ultimate doubled the price of their games for Underworld and Night Law. They went to £9.99, £10. And the whole outroar, this is not viable. We can't afford this with our pocket money. We're not going to buy it. We all went and fucking bought it anyway. But yes, I remember when games were $5.99. I remember when games were that came on cassette. 48K Spectrum games. And actually, I'm going to throw this out there. If you guys are interested, I'm thinking of doing an emulator session where I stream and talk to you about the games I used to play as a kid. Get an emulator running up on this PC and look at some of the old Spectrum games that I used to play when I was a wee nip whipper snapper before I discovered pop music and ladies, as most teenage boys do. So yeah, if you think that's a good idea, let me know. Even if just quick straw poll here. But yes, some of the games were like 99 pence or £1.99. The BT Firebird software, and then of course we had games going up to £14.99, like Elite. When Elite came out on the Spectrum, and you were paying for this thing called Lens Lock, which is an anti-piracy system, because when you had games back in the 80s, because they were on tape, you could copy games by going tape to tape. You get somebody with a master, they'd basically run off a bunch of dupes, and you'd give them a couple of quid, and all of a sudden you got 20 games on a tape, which is piracy, and I am not condoning it. Piracy is not a good thing, and I will say that, yes, unfortunately, I did it as a kid, but I did buy way more games than I actually played pirate versions of. But and then obviously, as I got older, I stopped. It was like I did that a few times like I said, as a kid, and then once it was into console games, PC games, ever since. I mean, I think probably the last time I had a tape to tape game on a Spectrum was probably about 1985. So that was a long, long time ago. Um, Thank you, Rosencrantz. Interesting name. Yes, so that's actually, uh, yeah, that's how it used to be with video games. I mean, I remember when they were really, really fucking cheap, but they were still expensive because I mean, a couple of quid pocket money, that was a game gone. That was all gone on a game. Anyway, Chucky Egg. Oh yes, I remember that game. So yes, uh, yeah, is Rosencrantz who I think it is? I don't know. Are they in the chat room? Anyway, if say hi, Rosencrantz, and if you are who I think you are, just say something. If you're not, well, thank you for following me. Very much appreciate it. So yes, what do you guys think about that? Would you like to watch me play these old dated games? I mean, this is the retro game. Like fuck your NES. These are the games that predated the Super NES, the NES, the Master System. These are the games that I was playing that got me into video games in 1982. 39 years ago. Games that are older than some of you right now. Fuck, I feel old. All right. So Melchior One says yes, and again, that's another one that I think might be somebody I know. But yes, Melchior, if you are, no, you're not. Okay, thank you, Rosencrantz, for joining. Thank you so much for joining. I thought you might have been somebody else who I know who has a last name that's similar to certainly. Pong. No, I think one of the things I'm definitely going to avoid doing is doing a stream while heavily drinking alcohol, because that's probably not a good idea. But I might, have a snifter, especially after the rugby tomorrow. So we'll talk about that in a second. So yeah, I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to get an emulator working and start streaming some old Spectrum games, and we can look at them together, and you can see how games that were made on less than 48K of memory and how they managed on a machine that was so basic. No dedicated sound chip. It had a beep chip. It couldn't handle a bunch of colors on the screen at once, so it literally had this thing called color clash that you will see. And the challenges for a lot of developers, a lot of developers who came out of that Spectrum and Commodore 64 era, who went on to form companies that made games like Grand Theft Auto, Ultimate, which became Rare. A lot of the British, the British greats in the software industry, all started on either a BBC Micro, which was another very expensive computer that they managed to get into schools and was a total waste of money because they were obscenely expensive, or the Spectrum 48K. So yes, I will do that. I will do that. I'm going to start get that up. Maybe that'll be the next game I stream next week. Oh, next bunch of games. I'll have to draw up a little playlist. If you do have a playlist of your favorite Spectrum games, any of you oldies out there, send them to me at the Night Gamer, and I will dig them up on emulators, and we will be good to go. I'm not streaming Zork. Yes, Windstrap Dragon. I know. I have the rare game pack, and it has Attic Attack, Saberwolf, Jetman, Jetpack, Cookie, Psst, Dune Buggy, Alienate, Gunslinger, Underworld, Night Law. Shit. Nightshade. That was another one. Yeah, played a lot of those as a kid. All right. I think we're going to come to the end. We've been going for about 1:16. I will touch briefly on the big sporting event for me this weekend. And no, it's not Liverpool. Hopefully returning to form against Sheffield United. I can't see it happening without a formation change, a little bit of tweaking. It is Wales versus England. Rugby, Six Nations. Totally unprepared for the fact that the Welsh team are on the verge of a Triple Crown. The Triple Crown in the Six Nations is basically when the home unions, which is England, Scotland, Wales, or Ireland, they beat the other three home unions. So in Wales' case, we win the Triple Crown for beating England, Scotland, and Ireland. Well, we've beaten Ireland, we've beaten Scotland. Tomorrow we've got the English at home in Cardiff. Always our biggest game of the year because, there's a song by the Stereophonics called "As Long as We Beat the English," and yes, we have a big chip on our shoulder when it comes to the size, as we like to call them. So yeah, we win that tomorrow, and there's no guarantee we will because England are a great team, World Cup finalists a couple of years ago, last year's champions. If we win that and win the Triple Crown, I'll be absolutely fucking blown away and be dancing. And I might crack open a Penderyn. So, yes, Wales and Liverpool to win this weekend would be wonderful. Doubt it's going to happen, but there you go. All right, let's see. Let's go back to the chat room for one last check through. Let me see. Yeah, Liverpool. I've got a Windswept Dragon. I've got a big box of Spectrum games and a working 128K. Wow. Still, that's pretty fucking cool. Yes, God, our captain, Jordan Henderson, is out for at least a couple of, probably about 6 to 8 weeks, which is what we can ill afford to do. But we have central defenders. Just chuck them on the fucking park and get them going. Get them going. No more playing midfielders out of position. Go to 3 at the back if we have to. We have enough defenders now to go 3 at the back. Push the wing backs up. Go 3, 4, 2, 1. That's a formation we could go for. The wing backs can go back and forth. We can have Fabinho or Gini Wijnaldum if Fabinho might not be fit. So Gini Wijnaldum and Thiago as the 2 central midfielders, and then in front of them we can have the 2 wingers bombing forward and Firmino up front. So that would be great. Not going to happen. All right. Let me see. Who else are we talking about here? Yes, Arpad TV. Raypad has been having a good time. His team are just mental right now. Rosencrantz, thank you so much. Yes, you can always check out the YouTube channel as well. If you search YouTube for Marcus Beer, there is a picture of me with like in the dark with long hair and big bushy beard. All the shows go over there. So again, thank you to the YouTubers who watch on every time something new goes up. Hi Nelly, better late than never. But yes, unfortunately, we are winding down now. So, but thank you for coming in. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. Follow me on the Twitter. Thanks for the follows here. Thanks for the subs. Always wonderful. If there's anything you feel you've missed, please feel free to check out the YouTube channel. It's I think it's youtube.com/MarcusBeer. There you go. All this stuff ends up going over there anyway. Be good, be cool, behave, be safe. And here's to my teams in red winning comfortably this weekend and everybody else losing. I kid. All right, I'm out. It's time for supper. Bye.